my name is Amber Lynn. I am an author, a coach, and community director for Pathway to Hope. Pathway to Hope is an online community created by myself and also Patrick Doyle for women who are looking to gain more confidence, trust themselves, and learning how to set boundaries in relationships. Today I'm here with Patrick Doyle. He's an author, counselor, and expert in emotional and spiritual abuse. And today we are going to be talking about the 4 signs you were raised by an emotionally unsafe parent.
How would I know about this?
Yeah, we're the experts in this one, right?
So, obviously, for those that may not know, I was raised in a violent alcoholic home. My dad was a 2 war PTSD alcoholic, and my mom died when I was young, 10. So I was basically left alone with this unsafe person. And so I can speak to this not just from my understanding of people and psychology and experience. I can speak to this as a person who's had to go through it. And listen, every single one of us that lives in a unhealthy childhood where the parents are, for whatever reason, unable to be well. And from my perspective, look, my dad was destroyed by 2 wars. Okay. He fought in 2 wars. He had PTSD. No one knew what to do. He was trying to do his best to survive. So, regardless of the fault, there are some very real things that take place when you are not parented or cared for in a healthy way. There are some things that you learn and you internalize at a deep level. And I always talk about it in terms of it's unconscious. You're not consciously thinking these things, but if I looked at your behavior, it'd be a neon sign that you believe these things. Okay. Two things that I think, just to preface, two things that I think that people need as much as air and water when they're being raised is to be seen and to be cared for. Okay. So if you're in a situation where a parent is out of control and can't care for you, can't see you, their problems and their realities are so over the top that all they do is deal with that. What's the message to the child? You're not worth anything. There's something more important. So that starts a deep shame base for the person. Now, what did you do to earn this? Nothing. I didn't sit up in heaven and ask God to send me to a crazy alcoholic family. Yet that's what happened. So I either deal with that reality, the messages that I learned, or it deals with me. Those are your two choices. And I know, Amber, you also have some experience with this. I know that your childhood was without care and there was unhealthiness there. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
my dad, left when I was about 5, and then I was raised, unfortunately, with an emotionally abusive mother, so who I actually have no contact with since been
Mm.
9 years now. So yeah, I definitely can relate to this. And so that's what I thought it'd be important to go over, like, the signs, because I don't think a lot of us are really aware that maybe we were raised with someone who's emotionally
Mm.
unsafe.
Hmm.
So what are some of those signs?
Well, I get nervous about this because there's so many nuances,
Sure.
um, but I will give you some basics in principle. Okay. One is you see yourself as the problem. So no matter what situation you go into, you instantly start trying to figure out a way to to fix the problem, which is you. So you have a lot of um, um, unhealthy, negative thought processes. So you have a circumstance, and instead of looking at the circumstance for what it is, you start to see yourself as the problem. Well, if I hadn't done this and I hadn't done that, well, if I did this, what if I did that? And you go through all that stuff. So, but that is connected to your parent not caring for you. You weren't the problem. No kid comes into the world being the problem. It's something we learn, right? So insecurity, huge. Okay. And I've seen people that are massively successful in lots of ways and abjectly insecure because this message is underlying it. So it destroys peace. That's the other thing I would say is there's a constant sense of when's the other shoe going to drop. I lived in an environment where danger was always prevalent. So when I approached the world from a fearful place. But I'm not thinking that in my mind. But my
Right.
behavior is very much that.
Mhm.
So insecure, there's anxiety, there's self doubt, huge. That's a huge one, the self doubt. And then we tend to unconsciously be in relationships that give us the message we're the problem in various ways. Okay. So if I'm valuable and you mistreat me, that's a different response than if I'm the problem and you mistreat me. And this is what we see. I've talked to, thousands of people, and a lot of times their ability to manage and be in harm is because that's what they started with. And they
Mhm.
see it as normal.
Mhm.
Well, at least it wasn't as bad. And I look at my own situation, and I went from one bad situation to one that was a little less bad, but it was still bad. But because of my training and my thought processes, based on what I experienced, I saw myself as the problem. That made sense. That was what everyone was telling me. But it's not true. So, you know, that's one of the things I see a lot is people have that insecurity, they self-blame, and sometimes it their care can become a defense mechanism. So instead of being vulnerable, I'm just going to do. I'm going to be a super person. I'm going to do everything. I'm going to be superwoman. I'm going to care for everybody. I'm going to do everything. And really, it's just an avoidance of the pain and the loss and the loneliness that comes with being uncared for and unseen. And that's the other thing that I would say is that you struggle over off and on with bouts of loneliness and valuelessness.
Mhm. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So here's some signs. I know you don't like concrete like signs, but
I
from
do.
someone
I
who
do.
is
I do. This has to be
raised
true.
there, you always want context, and which is makes a great counselor, by the
Yeah.
way. You want to know your situation,
Yes.
details.
Because good
You
advice
like
can
cattle, but
be bad advice in the wrong context.
yeah. Well, as someone who was raised in an emotionally harmful environment, like these signs I thought were, really resonate with me. So I know it'll resonate with a lot of other
Yeah.
women out there
Sure.
and men who have been emotionally abused. I have clients that are also men
Sure.
that situations like that.
Yeah.
So four signs you're raised by an emotionally unsafe parent. One, you learn to hide your feelings to keep the peace. Two, you were blamed for their emotions or behavior. Three, you didn't feel seen, heard, or validated. I would say a high percentage of the time, if ever.
Right. Right.
Sometimes you're gonna feel that in every relationship,
Yeah.
I think.
I never felt that.
Yeah. Never with a capital N,
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
then last but not least, you became the parent in the relationship with parents. I would even go as far as saying you lost your childhood.
Hmm.
I felt like that definitely happened to me, got stolen from me,
Yep.
and I had to be the parent
Yep.
most of the
So,
time, so
well, the other side of that, I never had to be the parent because there was too much fear and control because of the abusiveness of my father. Um, so I didn't become the parent, but I certainly didn't feel like I was okay. So I think, in your case, you maybe became the parent, but in my case, there was none of that. You did not, no, no, no. You had no authority. You couldn't. And so, but I think both are true for
well, I
sure.
still didn't have authority. I mean, I
No,
wasn't a parent in that way, but I was a parent in that I had to take care of someone that acted like a child most
correct.
of the
Yeah, I had
time.
to fear the person,
Ah,
not care for them.
I see.
And there's a difference, but both are very traumatic for a
Absolutely.
child,
Yeah.
right? And so, when well, read the list again.
So, sign number 1, you learn to hide your feelings to keep the peace. You were blamed for their emotions or behavior.
Hmm.
Sign number 3, you didn't feel seen, heard, or validated. And sign number 4, you became the parent.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we used to have a saying in recovery, when I worked in treatment, that anyone raised in an alcoholic family learns two rules. Rule number one is don't talk, and rule number two is don't feel.
Mhm.
This is our survival mechanism. So I'm in a childhood where there's alcoholism and danger. And so I apply these two rules, don't feel and don't talk. And then I get out of the dangerous environment. I grow up and now I'm living on my own. But guess what rules I'm still living by?
Yeah.
Right. And so that's a process to undo, which you're not going to be able to do unless there's some safety around you.
Mhm.
Right. So when you list the consequences of that, those are very true. And so to overcome that, you have to start getting honest about what happened
Yeah.
instead of blaming yourself. And so the devaluing message of you're the problem, you're not good enough, inadequate, that kind of message is always the result of misplaced blame. So I'm a child. My dad's an alcoholic, violent individual. Who do I think is responsible for his violence and out of controlness? I think it's me. Because
Yeah.
that's what he's saying. I'm a child. What defense do I have? I'm like, okay, yeah. If I was just more like him, everything would be better. But the truth is that was a lie, and it took time for me to realize. And this is where my healing started. Is when I started to. The way you heal that message is to appropriately assign responsibility. Wait, it wasn't my fault. It was my dad was really unhealthy. In your case, wait, I can't have somebody in my life who's going to do all this harm. So that's appropriately assigning responsibility instead of taking it and burying ourselves in that. And then as we take the responsibility that's not ours, we operate from a place of devaluation, which then shows itself in all of our relationships and how we live.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
one of the things I would encourage you to do if you did come up in a family where you weren't cared for is start to look at who's actually responsible and document that. And that's going to lead you some uncomfortable places, but that uncomfortableness will lead you to freedom rather than in the merry-go-round of self-blame.
Yeah. It's great. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If you found this helpful, we've created some free resources for you in the description below. There's a link. Also, if you're looking for extra support, maybe this resonated with you and you're like, man, I kind of want to work through a lot of this. Patrick and I both are coaches. Reach out to the team at info@patrickdoyle.life and yeah, inquire about coaching. And
Mhm.
until next time, thank you.
Yep, you bet. See ya.